don't understand their role in the politics. And because of that, the politicians could do what they want. So Rondell Glasgow, he's one of our candidates. Rondell is telling me, now Rondell drive up from Labrie for candidate prep. Now I give him props for that. And gone back down the road late. And he was the last man out of the building. So he wasn't even trying to get, an advantage for the fact that when it wrapped up, he had to go Labrie. And I respect that. I really respect him for that. While this video is going on, he must be still driving. And yeah, I feel that. I really feel that. But he's telling us that he's out there campaigning, and an old woman tell him, you can't be fed up yet, she only get 5 years. She only get 5 years. And it's people like her, was like the police officer who live in La Horquetta, in squalor. The man living in squalor, the police officer. And he raising his children in abject squalor. And the whole community is so depressing for a country this wealthy. And the infrastructure is so bad. And the place is so dirty and so unkempt. In a country that spends this much money every year on things like maintaining that. And he's screaming in my face about the rowdy. You can't fix that. You can't fix that. You can't fix Tanti. Give she 5 more years. To Tanti and to Mr. Police Officer, your vote is a way to gift people public office. Public office is not to serve you. The idea that we are subservient and that has allowed them to make so many laws that makes them royalty, red carpet royalty, instead of public servants. And that's why I keep hammering away, because I want to tell you this. If we don't change, and if we don't get real change, and if we don't get all of the other politicians or the activists and all of those who think that, I had to tell somebody today, I said, listen, all your talking, he said, I want to be free to talk. I said, talk. But all your talk done, if we don't change from the PNM or the UNC, when the Chamber of Commerce, and I said this, the Chamber of Commerce has refused Gabriel Faria's resignation. Because the Chamber of Commerce agrees with Gabriel Faria. So now we are at an impasse. Because the Prime Minister, who threw a tantrum after eavesdropping on a private WhatsApp thread, because even if somebody sent it to him, doesn't make it his to use. But he wouldn't understand that. He wouldn't understand that at all. And in a lot of ways, I hate what the PNM and the UNC have made of this country. In a lot of ways, Trinidad is one of the nastiest places in the world to live. The only happy Trinidadians are those who steal money or those who escape Trinidad and Tobago. When you see Trinis talk with a bounce in their step, check their profile. They live in Florida. They live in New York. They live in Canada. They live in England. Trinis living in Guam message me to tell me they happy in Guam. Trinis in Dubai. Trinis living in war-torn areas. Happier than Trinis in Trinidad. That's no joke. When I went down in the river for the first time, people thought, but he had to be a madman. But I went down in the river to do a video to show Trinidadians that the structure of the river, that box, could hold water. That's what it's made to do. And that if you dug deeper, if you sent excavators down in the river and dug deeper, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet down, retained the walls, and created a deeper swimming pool where the river normally was, and put gates at the end of every one of those rivers, the River Martin, River Maraval, River St. Anne's River, all. Put gates at the end of the river so that instead of them being permanently dry, like there's an actual place in Trinidad called East Dry River that under Progressive Empowerment Party government will quickly become East Wet River, because you could fill the river and you could use the river to trap and hold water. Now when you get to the gate, because the river is designed to follow the lay of the land and run downhill to the sea. And as long as you raise the walls and the sides, the gates, higher than the sea, the water is going to run over the top of the gate to get into the sea, that amount. And what you could do, like how all dams are built, all hydroelectric dams are built this way, that you control the mass of water that is pressing against that gate, and you let it out in a controlled amount that falls on the blades of turbines and spins those turbines and generates free electricity. The Hoover Dam powers Las Vegas. Diego Martin River alone could power the whole of Diego Martin, but forget that. If I go too far down the road with what is possible, Trinidadians, especially the cult members of the PNM and the UNC, their brain will bust in their head. They can't talk this. Ed Reed, PNM sycophant and troll, dead. They say he dead today. And if he did, rest in peace, brother. You fight for your cult. You escaped the country. You went to live in Maryland because Trinidad nasty and you know it. It's not nice to live here. So you run away from Trinidad because of the government. Because of the failure predominantly of the PNM. They made life in this country so hard that as a proud black man, Ed Reed, you run away from Trinidad to live in Maryland on your pension, on your police pension. Can't get you wrong. My brother raised his children in Canada. My nephew, 30 years old, came here, didn't see him for about 15 years, came, 10 years, came, and we went to have roti. Because everybody who comes to Trinidad, the first thing they want is for Uncle Philip or Philip to take them for roti, lobster roti. And he tell me, he said, Uncle, I will come here for carnival. And I will come here for a vacation, now and then, because I have family here. But I will never live in Trinidad. Because Trinidad is not a functional country. And I do business. He's telling me because he's in international business. He said, I do business with Trinidadian companies from time to time. And the ease with which they talk corruption, the ease with which they try to corrupt the deal, frightens most international business people. So when you tell PNM people and UNC people that you could solve water, that all you have to do is the water problem. All you have to do is use the existing rivers. Just that. And catch the water. Don't wash it to the sea, catch it. Hold it, treat it. Diego Martin River, when rain falls heavy, sustained rainfall, it fills up. In times like that, the reason you're not putting a wall, the reason you're putting gates, is that in times like that, you could open the gates and let all the water run until the rain stops, and then close back the gates. And it's as simple as that. And because the gates are lower than the walls, you have an overflow level. Tell me if you understand that. Because they're learning, They're learning. They're listening to me, and they're learning. Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Keith Rowley and whoever's behind those parties listening to me, and they're learning. They're going to find a way to do these things to enrich themselves, not to take care of you. But again, listen. If you vote the PNM or the UNC back into office, wherever I go to live in the world, because at 53, I look back at the chunks of my life that have been wasted waiting for development in this country. The level I function at, and people like me, and there are a lot of people like me, the level I function at, if China was a real country, we would have created opportunities on a massive and a global level. People like me, who have my capacity, who have my knowledge, who have my capabilities, we would have created things on an international level. And like how Singapore is quarter the size of Trinidad and Tobago, is a first world developed nation. People like me, and there are plenty of people like me in different fields. And if, because look at the hour, it's minutes to 12, but 20 past 11. And we just came from a meeting, a PEP, candidate prep, that started at 6 o'clock. I was there at 5 because I had a meeting. So it has been 6 hours at that. And now I'm here for this. Now I'm here for this. And I really want to say, either the PNM or the UNC, if you choose either of those parties, wherever I go in the world, because I'm going to scoop up my family. And I don't care if I have to land in Miami, or New York, or England, or Canada, and work as a bag boy in a grocery. I'll be happier and content in a safe, first world, developed country where the trains and the buses run on time, where the garbage men pick up the garbage on time, and on Monday they pick up the plastics, and on Tuesday they pick up the cans, so that we can at least try to save the world. Because Trinidad is the largest contributor to plastic waste in the world per capita, Trinidad. But wherever I land, wherever I go, if the news is on 2024, if it lasts that long, 2023, 2022, riots in the streets, the country on fire, the government, there's open war. When they could show me what they want, they could say, CNN, that's not your country, you're not from there. I tried. I'll feel sorry for everybody who didn't take advantage. See all this gray hairs here? This politics age me. And those who didn't take advantage of the opportunity to work with us, don't expect me to look back from wherever I am in the world. Because that is a future we have. That is our future if we don't take massive action. And it doesn't have to be our future. We didn't have to have 500,000 water tanks in this country. That is madness. Just water. Just what they've done with water. I have been down in every river. I have walked Maraval River to the end. I've walked Diego Martin River to the end. I've shown you top to bottom. Just what the PNM and the UNC and Carolyn Sipasad Bechan, who was a member of the People's Partnership Government, told me she thinks that the desalination plant makes sense. And you cannot fix this country until you break that mindset And I do not know if there are enough people in this country willing to stand up and say, you know what? It is time to try. It's time to try. Because the money that was spent, and I don't know how Carolyn C. Prasad Bechan and the Congress people didn't know this. But see, I didn't have power, I didn't have authority. The little authority I had, I formed an organization called the Diego Martin Redevelopment Committee. 4 people. And with those 4 people, lobbied, wrote letters, published in papers, all over social media, until Jack Warner was the Minister of Works. And I give Jack his jacket tonight. Because I used to be lambasting Jack on social media. God is my witness. If I could go back in time, Jack Warner, I never helped them pull you down. Whatever you do with FIFA, I between you and FIFA. But you see, this country, Trinidad, Jack is a jokey bandit in Trinidad. Jack money small. There are fellas in this country sitting down in the front pew of the church in that chamber of commerce that know real thief money, boy. Real thief money. And Jack, I remember Nicole Dyer Griffith called me on the phone. She read the article. And she said, this would work. I said, yeah. This was my plan to create the bypass in 4 roads, because before the bypass was built, everybody going into Diego Martin had to pass by Freddy's Bakery, Starlight Drive-In, and Hilo, and a gas station, by a street that used to stop to let people from Mount Coco drive across, so traffic lights interrupting the flow of traffic, and a crosswalk. And I stood up and I measured and I showed and I went. So she asked me if this would really work. I said, yes. She said, if I get you a meeting with the minister, you want to do a presentation? I said, sure. She invited me to a meeting. Jack Warner, Roger Israel, who was working in the Ministry of Works, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Works, Nicole Dyer Griffith, a couple other people. The then director of highways, Roger Ganesh. And everybody sat down, and they look and they think and they talk and they turn, and they say, this will work. And then Roger Ganesh said, yeah, but we can't get it done. And Jack said, why? He said, because the people at Starlight wouldn't allow it. And I said, if I may, I have spoken with the management of Starlight. And under my plan, the way it allows Starlight to still benefit, they will support the plan. Starlight surrendered some of their real estate to create the lay-by that allowed for that bypass. Before Jack built my idea, that Suraj Rambachan eventually opened because Jack was fired by then. And this is one half of the plan. The second half of the plan is for the traffic coming out at Diego Martin. So if you're in Diego Martin and you sit in traffic every morning, but when you come home in the evening there's a breeze and you forget, if you're not living there long enough, if you're not living there prior to 2010, if you're not living in Diego Martin 2014, if you're not living there prior to that, if you used to sit in traffic every evening from Movie Town, if you was in every back street in St. James and Woodbrook trying to find a shortcut or to leapfrog or to get in front, and if you never try driving around the Westmoreland roundabout, if you never try using the back road by Mount Coco, if you never try, Colm Imbert's only attempt to fix it was to put a turn signal on a highway that had entrance and exit ramps there, but he put a turn signal, and it's still there today, to take some of the stress off of Westmoreland's roundabout. But it is I, without holding public office, that designed and got Suraj, Kamla, the whole Sammy family, and all their friends and stunt artists, and all of them come to cut ribbon. No problem. No problem at all. But for all eternity, the people of Diego Martin will know I solved that problem. And Colm Imbert stood up on Facebook, no less, and said, Alexander beating his chest, because it was on the Government Information Systems website that I solved the problem. Imbert on Facebook say, Alexander beating his chest, we had that plan 20 years ago. And I responded, you had the solution to traffic 20 years ago, and you didn't do it. And you've been Minister of Works twice. He deleted the post. Colm Imbert, Member of Parliament for Diego Martin, Northeast. So when I tell you that my water plan, not only will it save, not only will it give every single citizen of this country water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they will forget that there was a time they didn't have water for weeks and months. The same way the people of Diego Martin and Westmoreland forget the traffic to go home every day between 4 and 7 o'clock, the madness, people all on the shoulder, putting police to give ticket, man driving slow on the shoulder to block other people, the foreshore jam, Mukorapa Road jam, Western Main Road jam, all up behind Maraval jam, just to try and get to Diego Martin. 250,000 people. When I tell you my water plan will work, not only will it give every single citizen of this country more free water than they could ever use. Even all the talk about the pipes burst and the water leaking, all that doesn't matter. You could fix that as you go. But there will be so much water in the system that even with the burst pipe, people tell everybody the problem is the pipes burst and it leaking. We need a satellite in space from Israel to see the ground. With all of that, there will be so much water in the system that everybody will have water 24/7. But not only that, the system will generate electricity that powers the pumps, that takes the water from the river and sends it to the treatment plants and sends it to the reservoirs, sends it to retention ponds. This system is so foolproof. Even PNM and UNC could do it if they wanted to do it, but they never wanted to do it. And not only that, this plan, not only will it guarantee water for all, not only will it do it for free and generate its own electricity to power the pumps to save the water and to treat the water, not only will it do that, it will save the country, at least the Trinidad and Tobago Treasury, at least $1 billion a year. Just the Treasury. And the average citizen will be able to throw away their water tank and their water pump, and they will never have to call to beg for water on a truck, and they will never have to buy a bottle of Blue Waters again in life. Will you change the lines to stainless steel? It's not stainless steel the lines need to be. The lines need to be sleeved, and the sleeves need to be built and re-sleeved to take boiling hot water, so you could sanitize the lines at night. But stainless steel will still collect if we're not sanitizing the water, if we're not doing a proper job treating and decalcifying the water. Stainless steel lines will still clog. And that's one policy. Imagine that. One policy ends the bottled water industry in Trinidad. Ends it. One policy ends the water tank industry in Trinidad. Just ends it. Now the people who make bottled water and the people who make water tanks and import pumps don't want Phillip Alexander in power. Because in 1 year, all them industry gone. Bottled water, water tank and pumps. But all of Trinidad and Tobago would save hundreds of millions of dollars in extra money on their electricity bill powering pumps. All of Trinidad will save all of the money that they spend on water tanks. Not only that, we will regift the average person the 36 square feet lost to the water tank. 36 square feet for each water tank lost that you get back. 36 square feet is almost a bedroom. Think it through. 36 square feet is almost a bedroom. Yes, and that side will reduce our carbon footprint because the power for the water, powered by the water. One policy. Water for all. Let's talk all of the policies that you should be voting on. That you should vote on. And not simple things like a legislative agenda that you get into parliament and you pass recall and you pass referendum and you pass campaign finance reform. If I say that, you don't believe that. If I say it because the parliament feels like a lie. We are so accustomed to the parliament doing nothing of value for nobody that if I tell you that I will get everybody in the parliament to dress up in ballerina costumes with ballet shoes and to stand up on their toes to make their presentations, you quicker believe that than if I tell you that the parliament will pass recall legislation that will fire the parliament if the parliament doesn't do its job. That separates the legislature from the executive so that the members of parliament will never be ministers again. That they could only be members of parliament. You wouldn't believe that. You would prefer to see Rodney Charles, Anna Ramlogan and call members on their toes pirouetting. You'd believe quicker that that will happen. So let's not talk that. Let's talk the things that at least you could touch. Let's touch this. Let's touch this. You shut down that desalination plant. The amount of power it takes to run a desalination plant is costing us $500 million a year to chase the water that we wash into the sea and pull it back and desalinate it. So we send it to salinate and then we desalinate it. That is the insanity of the Congress of the People, the United National Congress, the People's National Movement. That is the madness of them, their lack of policy, their lack of understanding. And again, we're bringing to you candidates that are unsullied, that have never passed through that rigor. And people will tell you that in this party, what we say we're doing, we're serious about it. We're that serious. We are not a bandit by consensus party like the PNM and the UNC. And to this day, nobody could explain. I've lost pepper. Nobody could explain why this is how our country is run. Let's talk about the SCA exam. When Pandey was in power, the last school was built to make it so that 20,000 children doing SCA have a school place. Pandey called it No Child Left Behind. Now let us say that that finished in 2005, because that is when Manning came to office. Yeah, no, 2002. Manning came to office in 2002, and when you have 20,000 children per year trying to get into one handful of prestige schools, you create a level of corruption so massive that nobody wants to talk about it. But even our education system is corrupt, and it corrupts young lives, and it ruins young lives, and it is unfair to young lives that the corrupt education system robs them of their chance at a real life. And it is unfair. There are people in jail tonight, I want to tell you, who are criminals now because the government's education system was criminal first and it transformed them into criminals. You see, education is the great emancipator. Education levels the playfield. Education is supposed to give everybody a chance. Disproportionately, it is not so. We have schools that are prestige schools starting from the very young. And I could tell you, because those of us who could afford it send our children to St. Andrews and Don Ross and the other prestige preschools and primary schools. But those preschools and primary schools are almost a shoe-in to the prestige schools. So if you're not in those, if you're not part of that system, you're almost locked out from the start. And then there is the list for those who are not in those schools. And there is the other systems that corrupts it. If we do not answer as to why one school would be prestige and another school would be failed, if all of them are on the same curriculum, if all of them get the same funding from the same Ministry of Education, if all of them get the same teachers from the same teaching pool, from the same teachers' college, why would some schools get to be prestige and some schools not? Why? Why would 2 lanes of pitch separate Fatima College from Mokorapo Secondary and Fatima be in the top 5 schools in the country and Mokorapo be in the bottom 5? Why would that be possible in a country where people who know how to operate a country and a system and an education system function? Why? We have enough placements for all children doing SEA. In Finland, the country with the highest standard of education in the world, Finland is higher than the next 5 countries. Their standard of education is so ridiculously high. It is more advanced than the next 5 countries combined. And Finland have no separate fish from fowl. Finland have no SEA. Finland don't have homework. And their standard of education is highest in the world. Now, success leaves clues. You could learn from the Dutch how to deal with water. You could learn from Singapore how to deal with shipping. You could learn from Finland how to handle education. Success leaves clues. But in Trinidad, we prefer to create a classroom to jail cell pipeline. Because crime pays. Without criminals, they have no $80 million criminal transport contract. The Attorney General said it costs $30,000 a month to house a prisoner in remand. You are housing people in remand for thieving, cheating, and corned beef and a pack of rough tops that are worth $100, and you're housing them there for 3 years, and you're spending $360,000 every year to house them for $100, spending $80 million to transport them back and forth to court, when all you have to do is let them go. There is no justice in that. All there is crime and bigger crime. We do not manage this country. We abuse this country. Every single contract, every single service contract in this country, if you audit every contract, from road paving to drain cleaning to cutting the grass in the savannah, if you audit every contract that exists, you will find among them a mass of corruption like you could not believe. A mass of corruption, and most of those contracts like CPEP, if you audit CPEP, it will make live sport look like a joke. URP creates crime, facilitates crime. It's actually called gangs, and we're financing gangs in this dot in the ocean. When people ask where the money come from to import the guns, they audit CPEP, audit live sport. Audit both of them. Where the guns came from, where the criminals came from, where's the funding for the gangs? I'm seeing gang leaders driving Range Rovers, Jaguars, with massive gold hanging around their neck, and they're not getting that holding up people in Chinese restaurant. They're getting that with government money, like all criminality in this country. Nigel Singh asked, when will PEP lay out the plan to recover the stolen money? Nigel, that is one plan that cannot be laid out. You don't give people a heads up that you're coming for them. I just tell you this, fraud have no statute of limitations. And once it's a continuous conspiracy to commit fraud, even the family of Johnny O'Halloran will answer for those buildings. Audit all. Audit all. Let's come back to the education system. Let's come back to the education system. Every time school is closed, traffic disappears. Because our education system is so ridiculous, it is so stupid. You have parents leaving one side of the island to drop children on two different sides of the island just to try and find and manipulate and hope for a step up and a chance up. My partner Richard Blaze, son, just do SCA. And for the whole year, Richard and his wife nearly went mad. SCA destroys families. The SCA exam is creating mental illness in this country. The SCA exam is breaking children. The SCA exam is a hotbed of corruption, a source of much misery. The SCA exam destroys young people. They have a lot of children who come home because, you see, 20,000 children do the exam. Only 3,000 can go in the prestige schools. So the other 17,000, their mothers and fathers can't go on Facebook and say, yay! So what's to become of them? Well, if Wayne Sturge is correct, of the 20,000 that do the exam, 3,000 get into the prestige schools and go on to fabulous lives. But I guess about 10,000 creates university students, middle management, people who get the higher level jobs, the white collar jobs. And about 7,000 of this nation's children fail. And by the time they reach the end of that 5 years, about 4,000 are not even in the system. What is to become of that mass of humanity? Now 16, 17, 18, hormones raging in their bodies because 60% of a mall, the reason malls exist, 60% of it is teenage money, is young people between 12 and 25. It must be more, it must be 80%. Without young people, Digicel, well, I mean, Digicel did close down. But you know what I mean? Young people have to be fashionable. And well, Faris and the other Peter Pans who don't know how to grow up have to still be shopping in the boys section of Gap, trying to look like they're still in their teenage years. So outside of them, the malls are built, the industry is built around young people. And these 7,000, like all other children, want a life. They want to impress. They want girls and they want boys. And when they're going out, you ever see a young girl? She have a whole wardrobe full of clothes and she cussing, she have nothing to wear. Young boys now are fashionable. They need to have the latest and the brands and the best. And they need a nice car. And they need money to take her to the fete. They need to buy the tribe ticket. All that have to happen. But how they get in it? Because they don't have a job. And they don't have a chance at a job. Rituals and KFC salary. Not buying tribe ticket and fancy clothes to go. And minding you. And be real. That is what drives most of the crime in this country. We've created an entire juvenile delinquent strata of society that willing to do anything to have a life. And that anything should have been access to a proper education and chance to go on and develop a life. Slipstream. You could be a lawyer. You could be a doctor. You could be an engineer. You could be an architect. You could be a builder. You could be a mason. Make no joke. Mason make big money. You could be a master welder. I know a welder who does underwater welding and he making more money than doctors. You could be a statistician. You're supposed to be a footballer. We need to treat all of our people with respect. You know where that happens? The parliament. You know who's responsible for that? The parliament. The government that comes out of the parliament and the cabinet that comes out of the government, all of that is responsible for that. And you know who owns that? And you know who creates that? You know who upholds that? You. You are the author of your own demise. When they say, is black people sell black people into slavery? That's no longer our main issue. Our main issue is poor people that vote in PNM and UNC that turn around and advantage them and give them misery. Misery. The majority of people in this country live miserable, dead-end lives. Quiet desperation, squalor, degradation, crime, murder, sickness, disease. We have the highest count of diabetes and heart disease in the Western world. This country, people live sad, little, broken lives. A couple get to go Vegas on private jets. Come 21, come 21! Hey! Other than them, the vast majority use drugs and alcohol to mask the pain of living lives in Trinidad and Tobago. We have far more ghetto than we should have. And the Congress of the People won't tell you that. The Congress of the People will never tell you that this country has more ghettos than it should have. The United National Congress will never tell you that this country has more ghettos than it should have. The People's National Movement. The creator of NHA, which begat HDC, that is the facilitator for ghetto complexes, will never admit to you that it is government policy to press people down and keep them subjugated slaves to labor and consumption. And that's what you're voting for when you vote. That's what you're voting for when you vote. And you could do better, but you would have to think beyond PNM and the UNC. And that's hard for a lot of you. For a lot of you, you have every reason to defend the gang. You have every reason to defend the squalor. I know. You get accustomed to it. You think I don't know? James Allen. It's James Allen. I'll be correct. Is it James Allen? James Allen. James Allen wrote, "As a man thinketh." And in that book, when I read that book, and if you want to improve your life, read As a Man Thinketh. Read The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Read The Richest Man in Babylon. Read How to Win Friends and Influence People. See those 4 books? And they're all small so. So even if you don't like to read, it will change the way you see you and the way you see the world. Those books collectively, forget the nonsense people tell you read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Who you fighting? Who you beseeching? Whose armies you looking to surprise? All that is crap. Nonsense. What's the other one? What's the other one they're always talking about? That they tell you, I read that. Let me tell you something. I read all those books. I read Gone with the Wind, Winds of War, War and Peace, in that order. They have nothing to do with each other, just because I like how they sounded. I read books over and over because I love reading. As a man thinketh, so is he. In that book, James Allen said, no man can ever rise higher than his own estimation of himself. Hear me. You can't be prime minister unless you see yourself as prime minister. You know? Even if they hand it to you, you'll destroy it. Even if. You can't be a doctor, you can't be a lawyer if in your mind you're a 10 days hustler. And that's what they do in those children. They're breaking their mind. Alright people, this is not a list of your favorite books. I am talking about books that young people who have been damaged by the system need to read. It is a jump, it's a shortcut. Read it till you understand it. Read it till you could say Al-Mustafa, the chosen and the beloved, who was adorned unto his own day, had waited 12 years in the city of Orphalese in the land of Elul for the ship that was to return and bear him back to the land of his birth. That is the opening of The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. A little while, and my longing shall gather foam and dust for another body. A little while, a moment of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me. And that's the close. I mean, that was last page, so saying, he turned to the mariners and and everybody left the shore except Almitra. And she remembered these words. A little while, a moment of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me. Khalil Gibran, The Prophet, is my favorite book of all times. It made sense of the whole world. I think he was an absolute, actual prophet for writing that book. But as a man thinketh, get that book. Get it. Get that book. Get How to Win Friends and Influence People. You see, a lot of people don't know that they've been programmed to shortcut themselves, that they've been programmed to underestimate their potential. So that you look into their eyes and you see a critical thinker, you see their mind, you see their potential, but they can't. They can't. Thanks, Nigel. I appreciate the compliment. I appreciate the compliment, I really do. But those 4 books, The Richest Man in Babylon teaches you how to make money, save money, invest money. I used the techniques to gamble for a while. It works. As a Man Thinketh is an important book. The Richest Man in Babylon. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Read those books. In How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie tells you a lifetime of research into what it takes to survive in this world and to go forward in this world. A lot of people don't know that there's circumstances programs then. It takes a lot. And I could tell you from experience, from actually rebuilding myself, and I could tell you, all the time I say that I have lived different lives. But this life that I live now and all that I do is knowledge that other people imparted to me through books. And there's not enough read that you could read. No matter how hard life and the world looks, trust me when I tell you, hope is always a morning away. Hope is always just around the corner. See, you're putting a lot of these Think and Grow Rich books, and I want to tell you something. They all made money retelling what the seed books said. The seed books is what you need to read. Because if you read Think and Grow Rich and then you go back and you read The Richest Man in Babylon and you read As a Man Thinketh, you will realize that Napoleon Hill read those books and then came and did these books and made money off of them. Do you actually believe? I've had people told me I am brainwashed by you, by me. Nah. Again, the people in the PEP is the best people to talk to, you know. Philip don't like cult thing, you know. There is no cult that I could ever be a part of because I don't like having people rely on me for their existence. I could give you all of the advice and all of the experience and all of the knowledge that I have amassed over the years, but I don't want anything for it. You already know, how I am the least of the politicians. I am such a reluctant politician. And today, if there was a better option, if there was only a better option, and that's why I talk the way I talk, yeah? They tell you, other politicians will tell you, I mean, I had to keep quoting people like Carolyn, who say, Garvin, Nicholas, who come on and say, I like what you stand for, I don't like how you say it. And I want to flip the script on them. I don't care how you say it, stand for something. I'd like to see a politician in this country that I could say, I stood up in Errol Fabian's kitchen one morning for about 4 hours while he was cooking. Because he asked me to come and talk to him. And I go and talk to anybody. And Errol is a guy I like. And I was trying to explain to Errol why him running as an independent, even if he won, Paul Mamohan said, any form of education is a form of brainwashing. So, I want to tell you that is fraudulent. It is factually incorrect. Brainwashing teaches you what to think. All I try to teach is how to think. Because at the end of the day, the choices of who you are and what you do must always be yours. And I am the greatest supporter of people's choice. And that's why when we talk education, we talk about adding agriculture to the syllabus. Adding, once you cross standard 5 into Form 1, even though it's a 10-year school, there should be, from the moment you enter Form 1, you should start to learn things that are important to managing your life or to giving you an option. Because there are no apprenticeship programs in the world anymore that I am aware of. And not everybody needs to be an aeronautical engineer. The world needs technocrats, and the world needs machinists, and the world needs skilled hands. The world needs joiners and carpenters. There is a staircase in a church in Spain that science cannot explain, that a carpenter built from one floor to the next out of wood, and there are no nails, and there are no seams, and it's a spiraling wooden staircase that defies the laws of physics. And that is evidence of a master craftsman. I hate Trinidad and Tobago politics with a passion. I hate it. And it is only because my father told me, to whom much is given, much is expected. My father is responsible for this because of how I think. And my mother, who is the most generous soul in the whole world, my mother has caught her ass for her whole life. I mean, we lived a fairly okay life, but we were never wealthy. So we went through some good catch-ass times. And at no time in our life, at no time in all of my life that I have known my mother, at no time did she not have a couple people coming to her on a daily basis for their meal and to go. And I'm talking about a woman who could open an empty fridge and cook enough food for her family and put aside for the people who come in, for those people. And there's always some vagrant or spranger or some mad person, mentally challenged, something. It's always somebody like that. And she's had them her whole life. And she's... My mother went to become a nurse so that she could work in a hospice for free to care for dying people who have nobody else in the world. My mother's example and my father's words. My mother runs the Palori stall for St. Finbar's Church and for Living Waters community and for anybody else in that kind of thing that have an affair of any kind. She will go and stand up in that hot sun, under that tent, over that pot of oil, and nothing makes my mother happier. Nothing. Nothing makes my mother happier than coming home exhausted, knowing that her greatest sense of belonging is to charity. Anybody who knows my mother, Betty Proverbs, Francis Lopez, I mean all the people who on this, my mother's, and she will never push herself. My mother has been in living waters practically from the start. And she will never push herself beyond what she does. I serve the poor on Christmas Day. We organize food for the homeless in Port of Spain on Christmas Day, so that when we finish feed all of them, any leftover lunches we have, we go Living Waters just in time to meet my mother and my sister when they come there to help feed the thousands that come to Living Waters. Between my father's words and my mother's actions, I had no choice but to become somebody who would try to fix the country for the poor. Our policies, all our policies, you listen to it, none of our policies are aimed at making the wealthy wealthier. All of our policies are policies that, like a rising tide, lifts all boats. The Progressive Empowerment Party, in its first 5 years in government, we presented something to Kamala Persad-Bissessar called the Second Chance Foundation, that we wanted to take responsibility for all of the homeless people and to slipstream, because we knew, we were working with them for long enough, we knew that there were mentally ill people, substance addicted people, and people who just fall through life's cracks. Just fall through life's cracks. And the mentally ill people have to be institutionalized in an environment that treats them with dignity and respect for their condition. The substance addicted people likewise have to be put into systems that could help try to bring functioning citizens out of them. And those who fall through the cracks in life could be given an opportunity to learn and to get off the ground. Never happened. Went to the Minister of National, Glenn Ramadasing and Kamala, they thieved some ideas from it and tried to pick up the homeless people on that bus. But we just, we have the pictures, and that's why I have pictures inside the Red House, because went to meet with her for that. And couldn't believe the ease with which we were dismissed. And then went to meet Gary Griffith with another program, because the Jericho project was very busy, and we were trying to solve problems at the root level. And we went to Gary Griffith with a program called Literacy First, because literacy is the problem for a lot of people in this country. Illiteracy has made criminals of people who, if they knew how to read, would not be committing crime, but they can't advance themselves. And again, people's needs are what turns them into criminals if they have no other way to get those needs met. As always. There's no other reason. I'm not talking about high-level white-collar crime. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about basic criminality. Poverty and frustration drives those crimes. And Gary Griffith, who was the Minister of National Security, put me on to his junior Minister of National Security, because Kamala was packing them in. Kamala was packing them in, and every minister had a junior minister. And this junior minister, I can't remember his name, Miluni, Nomumi, he had one of these people that changed their name to African name to be in the NJAC. And he had a junior ministry, and he used to come to the meetings and sit down on the desk in the Ministry of National Security boardroom and fall asleep. And we had 3 meetings with him, and then never went back. And then one day Gary called me and he asked me, how's it going? This is not going at all, that man's a jackass. And Gary laughed. He called me back for a meeting. That's how I ended up working with Gary and helping him, doing communications with him. Literacy First, Second Chance Foundation. Under a Progressive Empowerment Party government, if you want a handout from social development in any way, you have to take a literacy test. We need to know your status. We will help you. Those who need help will get helped. But you need to do a literacy test, because we need to know if you're capable and how far behind society you are. If you get arrested for petty crimes, similarly, we would pass a law where judges and magistrates would have to make you do a literacy test. And anywhere you're found to be illiterate, you would have to enroll in a literacy program, or you will lose all benefits. You will lose all benefits. And if you are arrested for a petty crime, shoplifting and different things like that, small crimes, and you do a literacy test and it is found that you are illiterate, Embau Mohini, that is the man's self. If you do a literacy test, because literacy for a lot of people opens a world, you know. It's a superpower. When people learn to read, and we had with us Shauna Huggins and crew who were doing this, who were working hard, and Shauna had a team, and they were willing to do this and build this out so that all of the illiterate people, and I went to the movies and I saw Alta using our presentation. I don't mind Alta doing good work. But in one of our literacy first presentations, we did a book, and one of the pages was in Greek. And everybody turned to that page and you couldn't understand what was going on the page. You're looking at one another. So if you realize that you do not understand what's going on that page, that's how the world looks to an illiterate person. That's what a page of English words look to an illiterate person. And we made the point, but it didn't go forward because these governments are not set up to make functioning people of the poor. The poor in Trinidad and Tobago are labor and consumers to big business that owns these governments. If the Progressive Empowerment Party succeeds in getting people elevated, then all those clothes stores and cloth stores and car part stores would have to pay people a decent salary. And they're not set up for that. A lot of businesses make, anyway, we pay piss poor wages at the lowest rungs of society. And again, I have been through so many things in my life, so many different versions of my life. And whether there's a God in heaven or not, I'll find out at the end of my road. But it can't just be coincidence that I've learned all the lessons that I've learned by experience. And I understand hunger. And I understand homelessness. And I know what it is like to want and to need and to have nowhere to turn. And there are a lot of people in our society like that. And we need a government that understands that if we lift all our people, then all our people will do well. We've been a contraband paradise. We've been a white-collar criminal paradise for too long. We've taxed people to feed corruption. We've borrowed money to feed corruption. What Gabriel Farrier said about the governments, PNM and UNC, is so damning an indictment that Trinidadians, if after the Chamber of Commerce that has benefited from governments doing exactly what the Chamber said governments do, if they could admit it and you still support it, nobody can handle it. But before I go, we are going to launch candidates on Sunday. And I am going to put beyond my best foot forward. But politics is not my first love. And I hate Trinidad politics. I hate how nasty and devious and deceitful and dishonest. It's dirty. Our politics is fueled by drug and corruption money. Our politics brings out the worst people and the worst in people. I am seeing the nastiest of exchanges on Facebook, and I am doing my endeavor best to just ignore. But one of two things can happen. Because there is no political leader in this country, in any party, that could challenge me and my knowledge. Not one. And I say that without fear of contradiction. And I'll debate all. Not only will I debate all, I will allow you to give them the questions a full 24 hours before the debate. Don't get me, get them. Give all a head start. Keith Rowley, Kamala, Carolyn, all of them. Give them a head start. Give them the questions 24 hours in advance. You see, 9 lawsuits and counting. Distracted by all of that and still building the party and going forward. Still building it and going forward. And I know that this party has given the country a real choice for the first time that could fix itself, that could end the corruption and elevate the nation. And one of two things will happen. And either way, I am prepared for the outcome. I love the fact that so many foreign-based Trinis embrace the Progressive Empowerment Party. And they embrace the Progressive Empowerment Party because they are outside in a first world country and they are looking in at Trinidad and Tobago. And there is only one organization talking what they know their lives are. They know. They live in a country where if you time it right, you could go to the grocery and fill 4 trolleys on coupons alone. Spend $10. If you time it right, they know. They know that you could be the most catch-ass, living in the most catch-ass neighborhood. And still, if you go to a government office, they have to treat you with respect. They know. And they miss home. And the Progressive Empowerment Party represents a chance at home getting like a first world nation. And I know it's late. And we're running long. And I know everybody needs to go to bed. And I'm sorry that I started the video so late. And, well, I guess tomorrow morning some of you all will pick it up. But 6 hours of candidate prep today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, getting ready for the big show on Sunday. The media will avoid it. The country knows that the Progressive Empowerment Party is launching candidates on Sunday. The media will try everything in their power to undermine what we do, but not show up and give us equal time to what they give to the other parties. In a country so corrupt that even your constitutional rights are removed from you. One of two things will happen in the next couple of months. A new day will dawn, and I readily believe we could win the election. I readily believe that we could win the election. And I'm willing to work with just about anybody, as long as they're good and decent people and they really want a better Trinidad and Tobago. Because I know my tone could be hard to take at times. But I tell people this story all the time. I was at dinner with a friend and she said to me, I don't like your tone in your videos. I said, which videos? She said, get your videos. I said, which videos? She said, videos where you rant and you talk so hard. I don't like your tone. I said, but I don't send you my videos. How do you get my videos? She said, people send me all your videos. I said, no. If you think all I do is rant, they don't send you all of my videos. In fact, most of my videos have no ranting at all. And my 3-minute policy videos and videos like those that have no ranting, they've not sent. Look at these. And I showed her. And she's a lawyer. And she couldn't believe that there were actual videos like this. And I said to her, the reason I rant is to get past the media blackouts. I don't have to rant anymore because people know us and people seek us out. And we have a very large party and we have people in the party that are established now in their capacity. That's why we survive all these little petty attacks and all this stupidness that would destroy another party. One of two things will happen. And I pray to all the gods in heaven that Trinidadians wake up to all of what is going on around them. Because if they don't, today me and a man get an argument on a pep page. And I tell him, I say, brother, hear what? Throw your whole frame. Rant as much as you want. Vex as much as you want to vex. But if you want to help and you want to come on board, my number is 682-2110. Man, call me. By the end of the conversation, he's a pepper. Send all his numbers. Tell them, contact me. And again, the only difference between us and all the other political parties is that this is a good and decent party. And you know what? As much as I hate politics in this country, I have to bloom where I am planted. I have been given much, and much is expected of me. The story of the talents in the Bible, I get all of it. I want to say that there is nothing better out there politically. There are cults, there are gangs, there are places where people are profiteering and leeching and stealing and taking public funds and rewarding people that, and it's not even rewards because you are paying the taxes still that put that money in your pocket. So it's just literally left pocket to right pocket. And yeah, man, there's 1.1 million electors in this country. And it is time that all of those people took this thing seriously. Whatever happens, all of us who tried, all of us, look at Hadassah out here now at 12:24, working hard, pushing it. All of us will be able to say, we tried. I told them today, I said there will only be one election in the Progressive Empowerment Party led by Phillip Edward Alexander. I am the general of this army and we will go forward. After this, I done. And I will continue to support the party as long as the party upholds the principles that we built it on. I will support it forever. I'll be a financial contributor and anything I can do to help is having barbecue, I'm buying barbecue tickets. But I will not be the leader after this. I go forward to Parliament or I am out of politics. And this is it. This is it. But I would know that we tried. I have family members who are criminals involved in the PNM and the UNC, making millions of dollars on the most nastiest contracts, mowing lawns. Hopefully Trinidadians are not silly. Hopefully Trinidadians wake up to reality. Hopefully. Hopefully we vote ourselves a better country. Hopefully. Because it's time for real change. Eh? You can't exchange this no more. You know? You cannot bring back failed parties that failed and telling you now that they hear Pep tell you how to fix it. They could tell you they can fix it too. They never expected that there would be something this strong, that you would have this much of an option. Don't waste it. Don't let us lose it. Stand up, Trinidad and Tobago. Let us make a better country for ourselves and for our elders and for our children. Let us make a paradise on earth out of what they've done to this country. Until tomorrow, thanks to all of you who stayed up late with me. And if you could share the video to everybody so that they know it's available in the morning. Until tomorrow, but later today.